On the episode, the man from Taranaki, well, he's not from Taranaki, but he's residing there at the moment with his fantastically cool outside kind of basketball program, the Swoosh training. We've got Joe Reddish on the line. How you going, Joe?
Good, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, man. Look, thank you for giving up your time. And I know that the basketball community, they're quite intrigued of what you're doing in Taranaki. So, yeah, man. Represent where you're from.
So originally I was actually born in Australia. I was born in Townsville. My family moved to New Zealand before I was one. Mostly raised in Pukekohe, which is the Franklin district here in Auckland. So that's where I sort of claim the Pukekohe Franklin area.
Yeah, so we'll talk about Franklin later down in the track. But, yeah, man, passion for basketball, where'd that start?
So kind of born into it, It was just one of those basketball family situations. Sisters played, brothers played, so I got two of each. Some of them represented at high levels, like state level in Australia. So I started off really young, had my first jersey. I had a custom jersey before I was 1 year old. Funny thing about that was the number on that jersey was actually 0.5, so it wasn't even a full number. So kind of just started from birth, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, man, that's cool. You're playing through, let's start at high school, because you got an interesting story in regards to you're playing in the regards of game of basketball. So, man, speak about your high school days in ball.
Yeah, so in Pukekohe, when I was growing up, there was very little basketball at all. I had to travel to trainings because I played for Counties Manukau in Auckland. So it was 30 to 40 minutes travel, plus you got all the lines and waiting in traffic. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up playing for St. Kitts under Coach Colin Driscoll for a little bit. Throughout my years there in 2012, I had the opportunity to go and play some high school ball in the States. So I lived and played in Layton, Utah. So I finished my last 2 years of high school over there, then moved on to prep situations, which is just sort of your gap year situations. I played in Ohio, also played in Vegas, and that eventually led me into a junior college situation in California. So I was there for around 6 or so years when it was all said and done.
So when you're talking about you going over to America, the styles, stark contrast is going to be massively different from New Zealand, right?
Yeah, basketball is kind of, it's an international language. So I guess that helps. And obviously being in a new country, having something like basketball to make friends with was huge. But yeah, basketball is relatively the same. It's just the atmosphere. It's just how big and how intense it is over there is quite different.
Nice, man. So what's probably a question for you probably from what is the difference you feel from New Zealand to American basketball? I ask it quite a lot throughout the episodes, but from your translation, what is it?
I mean, both have their pros and cons. I think FIBA basketball, we've got some really good coaches, and there's, you could argue that we have better spacing, and then we can, have some higher IQs. But over there, you're just dealing with a bunch of athletes. There's a huge attrition effect. So there's a lot of kids competing for not a lot of roster spots when you ever look at the stats as far as how many kids after college go and play after high school go and play college ball. So just the amount of competition you have it's just greater. It's just bigger.
So when you're competing against these Americans, obviously being an Australian Kiwi, man, how competitive was it for you? Was it difficult to try and match up? Or what's the probably question is, how did you actually beat some of these Americans, these positions?
Well, basketball in New Zealand, we have some talent, definitely, with the whole national program and the just basketball rising in general, we can actually produce players at the level to actually go over there and compete. So it's not really surprising. We can definitely compete on an international level. Just look at the Tall Blacks and how they went at the World Cup. It's a testament to how basketball is coming along in New Zealand.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's quite attainable to get positions over in America nowadays. It's from way back then, it probably wasn't as common, but you are seeing a lot of Kiwis, a lot of kids that are going over to America right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's an awesome pathway. Like we talk about this a lot in the basketball community. It's a conversation that everyone has. But after high school, what is there for our players? There's not much going on. Like it's very hard to walk into a NBL or Breakers type situation coming out of high school. So the ability to go to college to extend your career out and have an experience is a great situation to get into. So if you can and if you work hard enough, the sky's the limit, so to speak.
Yeah, like I said, again, different avenues. There's a lot of people doing it out there, helping our kids get over to America or even other places around the world. Okay, now let's get into Swoosh training. Yeah, man, speak about it. Where did it start?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to coach at a real early age. Like my brother involved in rep basketball going back to when I was involved. So I had the chance to get involved early, and then being in the States, I always liked working out myself, or if I had teammates that wanted to go to the gym and stuff like that, like I would work them out with me, and it was just really fun. So I always knew it was something I wanted to get into. And when I decided to move back to New Zealand, I had the opportunity to coach for Franklin basketball. So I did some junior development stuff and just some community-based stuff like in-school coaching. But I was still playing at the time, and I was still interested in playing. So I ended up pursuing an opportunity down in Taranaki for the Mountaineers when I got back. I think that was 2018. And just a series of events. But long story short, I linked up with now good friend and mentor Brenton Hughes. I call him Coach Solly or Uncle Solly, and he'd be training kids for over 20 years just out in his backyard. And yeah, so it just all sort of fell into place. Like his methods, the culture, the tradition of our program has stemmed from what he was doing over those years to the point now where Swoosh Training, we have about 5 different academy programs, and we've been running down there this is coming into really our second year of doing things. So yeah, just a series of events that sort of strung together, and here we are.
So before you came along on the scene, was there obviously the backyard kind of training? Was there kind of a program already initiated? Was there a name, or what was it?
So Coach Solly had something going on. He called it the Summit Academy. So he basically just had his own little thing going privately. It wasn't anything too big, but he just trained kids and collected kids and ran some camps and stuff like that. The whole Swoosh training was something I sort of conjured up when I was in college of what would I do? Like I didn't necessarily want to just come in and sort of piggyback off what my brother had done. I wanted to try and do things, in my own sort of a lane. And what I really got into was the whole player development side of things, not necessarily team coaching. So my whole string of thinking about things was more geared towards individuals. Now, that's not saying that I don't like team coaching, and obviously those two things go hand in hand, but the whole Swoosh training thing was sort of designed to help support player development to then go on to team situations.
Okay, so coaching philosophy, is that kind of tearing off the fact that, individual training is where it's at for you? Or what is your philosophy within your coaching?
So one of our main hashtags, if you've seen on our IG and our Facebook pages, development never stops. So this whole idea of the development never stops kind of stems from the whole growth mindset idea. Mm-hmm. Basically, like there's ways to improve in anything and everything that you do in life, not just basketball in general, and there's always opportunities to improve. So that's sort of the core behind everything we do, is that there's opportunity to get better, and it never stops. You're basically playing the game to infinity. Like you're just trying to get better every opportunity you can. I also believe that, the better your skill sets are, the more enjoyment you're going to have within the game.
Right.
Enjoyment and learning, they're sort of all bunched together. So if you have a combination of learning and having fun, that should lead to more development or better development. So that's what it sort of all comes down to.
So you're saying more tricks in the bag, bro. You can pull them out here and there, and you're quite valuable within whatever team you go into. Because, like you said again, multifacets to your game just benefits you big time.
Yeah, for sure. Like the bigger your skill set, Peter Lonergan talks about the fantastic five. Pivot, pass, dribble, shoot, and guard your man. The better you can do all those things, the better your players are, the better your team's going to be. And the better you are, the more creative you can be, and the more fun you're going to have. So it's already linked together.
Yeah. So supply and demand within your region for this for the program, because you see a lot of pop up academies all over the place. I'll put my hand up, but yeah, man. Speak about it. Is there any issues or problems around the region you're in at the moment that can that you face within your your program?
Yeah, I mean, I guess no matter what you do, you're always going to have a day one, right?
Yeah.
Like you're always going to start from somewhere. So I think a big thing, like if you're looking to start a program or you're looking to get something started, it's just you got to be patient. Things aren't going to happen overnight, and I know that's kind of like a cliche in a way, but it's true. Like good things take time. You got to put the work in, and there's always going to be issues and problems that pop up. But issues and problems just means there's going to be a solution somewhere. So if you really sit back and think about things, you'll overcome any challenges you have, because they're definitely going to pop up. You're not going to avoid them. It's just coming up with solutions and getting around things.
Yeah, for real. Like you got to be ready for all these sort of things, because you're putting yourself out there, right? Would that be true? Like you're putting yourself out there that you're fronting a program, and yeah, there's always going to be people that's going to try and pull it apart, or they're going to be praising you at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it comes back to the whole, if you're not doing anything, no one's really going to say anything, right? But if you're doing something, someone's always going to have an opinion. So you just got to kind of, just block out the noise and just, if you're doing things and it all stems from, good intentions and you're doing it all for the right reason, then you just work and keep your head down and keep going.
Okay, so when you're doing your development, I know you get good joy out of seeing the kids getting better within their skill set. Or is there any other thing that you look forward to when you're doing your trainings as a progressionally stepping? What else do you see that's benefit that you say, man, that's pretty cool? What else do you see?
I think just the general vibe that you have, like when you're interacting with players. When players start to, things start to click for them and they start having more success, maybe they can pull more moves, or maybe they're actually making a left-hand layup, like something as simple as that. Just goes back to the whole joy and learning how they're interlinked. We try to, you can be serious, but you can also have fun while you're doing it. A lot of our stuff is geared to junior players. So you got to make it entertaining. You got to keep them engaged. You can't just have them all in one line and one ball between them. So we try to adopt the whole, messy learning environment. You've got to make mistakes. But yeah, just the whole environment on its own, like even training at the solly court out in the middle of a paddock, pretty much. So yeah, it's all the environment all together. It's just a good vibe. That's what we look forward to. That's why we do it, right? That's why we coach. We just enjoy it, the vibe that we have, and seeing people improve.
Well, that's real. Like if we were getting athletes that were pretty much, already in their elite tier, what's with the development? Like the development never stops. But if they're already developed, there's no real room for like improvement. So yeah, like you said, getting them out of the real green state, like from the beginning, is such a beautiful thing, because there's so much room to grow.
Yeah, for sure. Like when we get kids over for the first time, or we're working with kids, the best thing to do is probably assume they know nothing and start from there, because you can't assume anything, right? If you assume something, you might just miss a whole layer of information. And for kids that are learning, everything is crucial. They need to know little bits and pieces, and you got to give them a lot of direction, and then provide them with opportunities to make mistakes. and let them know that, when you're making mistakes, you're doing the right thing. You have the opportunity to learn from those.
Exactly. So what makes Swoosh different from other programs, if you feel?
I mean, we have a lot of underrated coaches in New Zealand. It's not like we're doing something magical on our end. Like, I think a lot of people are doing a lot of the same things. I guess just for us, one of the biggest things that you could probably take from what we do is that you don't need the latest and greatest things to be successful or to grow something. Like I said before, Solicorp is basically situated in the middle of paddocks. Like, you just have a row of paddocks in somebody's house and then a court there. And it's not too big. It basically runs to the 45 3-point line in key area. But you can do a lot with that space. So it's just more so just, you don't need everything. You just need something, can figure it out and go from there. I think that makes us a little bit different.
And that's cool, man. Like, because there's a lot of people, they feel like they've got to go to the biggest gyms. They've got to have all the gear, all available. But like, again, if you fall in love with the process and the journey that you're looking to move upon, that makes it all the rewarding when later on down the track.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at the heritage of the game, and we started with peach baskets, right? That's where the game stemmed from. So, and what's more pure in basketball than going to the park and playing with your friends, or playing outside at school time out on the hoop on the concrete, like the blacktop. Yeah. So you don't need the best gym. Obviously, gym access is amazing, and down in Taranaki, we don't really have to fight over the gym too much like you do in Auckland. But there's always opportunities, right? It just goes back to the development never stops thing that we always talk about. That's our tag. You always have an opportunity to get better, no matter what the situation is.
Cool. It looks like you guys are heading in the right direction. So what's some of the future plans for yourself and your program?
Just overall, just trying to grow everything and develop. Like myself, I have Coach Sam, who's my lead assistant. We're very much practicing what we preach. We have to study. We need to make sure that we're growing as well as helping grow these kids, because there's always something to learn. So we're constantly trying to, develop ourselves, whether it's through access to online clinics. I mean, shout out to Chris Oliver and all the Basketball Immersion platforms, to all the other coaches out there that help me and continue to help others. Just overall, just continue to learn, continue to build, and try not to force anything. Like, just try and let everything fall where they may, and just let everything grow kind of organically. Like, I know way down as a long-term goal would be trying to have our own maybe space or a facility type situation. But yeah, just trying to grow and develop as best we can.
Nice, man. Your connection, obviously, with Franklin Bulls, with your brother, doing great, great work in building that the NBL team from the bottom up. But all of it's done for Franklin. So yeah, what's the connection, man? Is there anything that you'd be liking to do working towards him?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, when I grew up, there was no basketball at all in the Franklin area. I had to drive, hours to get to any practices. So now that Franklin basketball is here, and that our kids in our local community have the opportunity to just go down to the local rec center to play representative, club, or even high school. Franklin basketball has in-school programs, so the reach that they have is amazing. And now that they have the Bulls, and now they have a pathway all the way up to there, hopefully they get a women's team in there soon. But, just that whole idea that you can come from this sort of small town area and have a pathway all the way through there is amazing. For me, I've actually moved back home for the next, 5-6 months. So I'm actually undertaking a new position with Franklin Basketball, the association. So I'm going to be sort of just in a player development kind of role. I'm going to help assist coaches. I'm going to be out in the community doing some in-school coaching. I'm also running some individual sessions outside of things as well, and all for sort of the goal and the pursuit to try and get a roster spot with the Bulls. That's sort of my goal being up here.
Nice, man. Hey, look, the Reddish boys, man, doing big things in little old Franklin, man. You guys doing a good job.
No, thanks, very appreciate it, and shout out to you too. I mean, the podcast is awesome. It's great to sort of get these stories out there. Like, I've enjoyed listening to what's going on in areas that I may not have known of or may not have heard of. So just the ability to maybe reach out to people and connect, and just hearing how basketball is changing and growing in this country, it's quite awesome.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like you said, again, basketball's a language, and we all speak it to any degree wherever you are. Like, it's just great to hear different people's stories and programs. But at the end of the day, it's all for the love of the game. That it's that orange ball, man. It keeps bouncing.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
Joe Reddish, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to your progression, and yeah, man, swoosh it up, and we'll see you somewhere down the track.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Keep at it.
Thanks, man.